Hello, everyone. Yes, sure. So I'm going to talk about another open source tool. It's called NRX, and it stands for Netreplica Exporter. So what this tool does essentially takes data from NetBox and allows you to spin up a copy of your portion of your network in a software networking lab environment like Containerlab or some other options as well. So let me get to the demo right away. All right. So what I have here is a NetBox instance with a couple of sites. So if you look at this site, it has a few devices, and I can even try to visualize how they look like. So it should they look like this. It's a small data center fabric, two-layer claw with a few test servers connected to them. So what I'm going to do now, I will try to stand up this topology using Containerlab. So what it takes is to run NRX, give it a configuration file. Mainly, it points to the NetBox instance, to its API. And then I want to export this site called DC1, and I want that to be in the Containerlab output format. So if I do that, it connects, pulls the data out, and then we should get this file over here. So once I have this file, I can launch my Containerlab instance, which I do like this, club deploy, and then I will give it a file name. Okay, so it's booting up right now. It will take some time, so let me walk you through what's happening here. So if I open up the file itself, zoom in a little bit. So it's a YAML file that describes that, hey, I have a topology named DC1, and that topology has a bunch of nodes, each of them representing a network device, right? And it has some configuration about, what's the type of the device, what kind of image to use to launch it, and so forth, right? And at the very bottom, I have this information about links between the devices, right? Which interface of device connects to the other device's interface, right? So this file was generated by the NRX, and let me walk you through what does it take to do that. So this is just a short summary of the demo, and then. So first of all, we have a topology information that we need from NetBox, which consists of devices. Devices have interfaces, and then interfaces connected by cables. Right? These are the three building blocks we need to extract from NetBox database. So what happens here is that every device gets translated to be in a node definition in the Containerlab file. And then we are pulling the association of interfaces with the devices, and then the links between the interfaces via cables, and create this, link endpoints entries, right? Of course, there might be a lot of information of NetBox. Right now, I am filtering only by site. As you can see, what happens here is that I take the parameter that I give in the command line, and then I use that in the API call to filter the list of devices by site ID. And in addition to that, in my configuration file, I have this string that says what kind of device roles I'm interested in. Obviously, I don't want to emulate PDUs and stuff like that, right? So I limit that to only things that I'm interested in. And in reality, you probably would not do all the servers. And I'm looking forward to actually improve that. So maybe I can have a tag that would let me filter it down to a small subset of the devices, right? So that filter allows me to narrow down what devices do I need to have in my topology. And then once I have that, the tool does some data mapping. So there are, besides those that I already mentioned, there are two critical items here in the middle. Role, yeah, we already said that's for filtering. And then there is platform. Platform is critical. It determines what kind of device is this. Is it Arista EOS, Cisco iOS, and so forth. And through the platform, I figure out, okay, what's the Jinja2 template I need to render as part of my topology creation. So a little bit of information about that. So when I say NRX output club, that maps to a folder where all my templates are stored. And then when I look at the platform slug information, that maps to the file name, right? So essentially, like natively to Containerlab, you would expect templates called like COS, which is a containerized OS, right? And SRL for Nokia, SR Linux, and so forth. In reality, your platform would be something more like real hardware, right? So the good workflow would be to just create symlinks for the platform slug that you have and point that to the right template that would match the operating system that you have on the network devices, right? Right, so with that, let's see how did the deployment went. So here we have it. I'm gonna open up this link. And here is my topology, right? Where I have the devices instantiated. And for example, if I connect here, you can see that I can log into the device. Right. And I can see that I'm connected from the spine box. I'm connected to 4 leaves. And very important to note here is that, let me zoom it in, is the interface names, right? So you can see it uses realistic interface names as they were in NetBox instance. It is not the interface names that Containerlab uses. So there is a magic here that actually gives you at the end the same list of interface names as they are in NetBox, and so sort of hides all the complexities that Containerlab has. All right. Okay, so now let me see what else can we do here. Sorry for zooming like this. I wanted to show what else can we do. We can export data for Cisco Modeling Labs. So I'm just going to use a different data center, and I'm going to say the output should be CML. And then when that happens, I am going to take this file, right? And I'm going to import that into Cisco CML. All right. Oops, and it failed. I'm sorry. I guess I shouldn't keep that instance working overnight. Let me try to reload that. Well, never mind. Let's announce that experiment maybe is failed.
Well, the fact that that you've even taken CML into consideration as part of this, I really appreciate. As much as I love Containerlabs, getting Cisco to work in it is gray space at best.
Yeah, it was definitely more challenging. So let me see. It's kind of zoomed for me back and forth. I'm just trying to find out where my presentation was. Sorry for that. Hold on a second. Let me just stop sharing for a second. I'll find this slide and then finish my speech here.
Sure. And while you're doing that, I can generally say that's again, sort of echoing a bit there about the CML side, is it's a really decent product for running Cisco emulation software, or routers and switches and whatnot. I hope that one day Cisco opens it up a bit more in terms of Containerlabs and makes it a little friendlier for you to run their operating systems outside of their environment. So repeating myself there, I really appreciate that you took CML into mind when designing this.
Yeah. Thank you. So what I wanted to finish with is just where to get all this stuff. So if you can head to netreplica.com website, that will navigate you further to GitHub repositories for the tools that I use today. So NRX is the actual tool that works with NetBox. Then an interesting fact that NRX actually has no idea about any specific engine like Containerlab or CML. Um, it's all in the templates. So essentially, if you want to add another network emulation tool over there, you just create a set of templates that would match how that tool, you know, the syntax of the topology definitions and stuff like that. And then the third tool was that did the visualization of the Containerlab environment and had the WebSSH session that's called Graphite. All of these are available on the Netreplica GitHub repo, open source.